Hello my dark and beautiful souls, it is I, the City Witch UK. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be reviewing Sigil Craft, your guide to using, creating and recognising magical symbols by Leah Taylor. So before we dive into this book's review, I just want to remind you all that all of my book reviews here on YouTube are my honest thoughts, opinions and experiences. You do not have to agree with what I say in this review, but by reviewing these books that I've read, I'm hoping that I'm saving you valuable time, money and energy and helping you make up your mind if this is the right book for you or not for your craft and practice and as an addition to your magical library. During the course of all of my book reviews, I will give you a look at the contents and a flip through of the book so you can see what's inside. I've made a little list of all the positives and negatives that I personally noted after I'd finished reading the book, and I will of course end with a conclusion which will tell you if this book made it into my magical library or not, and what I scored it as, which of course will be anywhere from 1 to 10. So let's get started, guys. So the first thing I want to talk about with this book is how gorgeous the front cover is. I mean, check that out, guys. It's colourful, it's bright, it's whimsical, it's fun, it's playful. It's got this really nice vibe to it, and I love looking at all these sigils around the edges. For some reason, for me, it makes me think of a chalkboard on a sunny day, doodling away with colourful chalks. Maybe that's just me, but let me know if anyone else had that thought. The book is hardback, and the reason I'm mentioning that is because try as I might, I could not find this in paperback anywhere. This book was published in 2023. We're now in 2025, so it's 2 years old, and I'd like to think if we were going to get a paperback copy, we'd have had one by now. So the importance of mentioning this is for those of you out there who have delicate wrists, perhaps an old injury or some arthritis, you may find it a bit taxing to hold this book open and read all the way through it. The book is heavier because it is a hardback. As you hold the book open, you will have to hold it like that, constantly turning the pages. Like I said, that will be taxing on the wrist, and if you put it down and let go, the pages are going to want to close just like that, as it demonstrated beautifully for me. Positives of it being a hardback is if you spill anything on it, it's wipeable. The corners won't fray or fold over or curl in any way because they are pointy and hard and strong. They may get dinted, but your pages, which are more indented underneath the front cover, will be protected. Because it's a hardback, usually pages are sewn in, not glued. On paperbacks, glued pages over time can come out, the glue can wear down. When they're sewn in, it's unlikely your pages will fall out, and the spine is a lot more powerful and stronger. So this will definitely stand the test of time. Price-wise, I paid about £12 for it on Amazon, so it wasn't break your bank expensive. It was average book price, even though it was a hardback. Let's read our introduction, which for this book is on the inside of the front cover, not on the back of the book. Our world is full of sigils. Learning to recognise them opens up a whole new perspective on human behaviour. This fascinating resource, written by witch and artist Leah Taylor, combines art and magic to teach you everything you need to know about how to create sigils, recognise them in the world around you, and add them to your daily practice. In this essential guide, you'll find an overview of sigils throughout history, from medieval grimoires and prehistoric cave paintings to graphic novels and corporate logos, step-by-step instructions for crafting your own sigil using a variety of methods, how to charge your sigils, incorporate them into your creative endeavours and heighten their power through the shoaling technique. For anyone interested in this fascinating practice, Sigil Craft is a comprehensive and beautiful reference that provides the tools to engage with magical symbolism. The next thing I want to mention is the pages. The pages are a fantastic quality cardstock. They are a nice thickness. They don't feel thin or flimsy like with some other books I've had in the past, and they are this gorgeous kind of aged antique-y off-white kind of creamy colour, which is something I really appreciated because I'm one of these people that likes to read in my garden on a lovely sunny day, and some of the books I've had in the past have been glaringly, sparklingly white pages, and when the sun hits the pages and they're white, it kind of reflects the light right back at you, making it difficult to read, giving you headaches, and you have to wear sunglasses just to enjoy your book in the sunshine. With this book, I didn't have that problem. Because the pages were kind of an off colour, I could read this very happily in my garden and enjoy it with no problems whatsoever. So that was something I appreciated. The next thing I want to say is look at the artwork. The book is full of these fantastic doodles drawn and designed by Leah, and they are throughout the entire book. So you will enjoy Leah's art, which is something that for me was a positive in this book. Now, before I go any further, I do want to point out that as part of the introduction in this book, Leah Taylor does let us know that they are a non-binary witch. Now, because of that, I'm unsure about Leah's pronouns, whether they prefer to be they, them, or she, her. And I'll be honest, guys, I'm 40 now. I'm trying my best, but I struggle. I make mistakes. And if I slip up and refer to Leah as she or her, I apologise. I'm not doing that deliberately. I'm trying my best. If I catch it in the moment, I will correct myself. But if I make a mistake, I'm not here to disrespect anyone or upset anyone. So you have my sincere apologies. And I just want to say that now before I do the full review in case I do make a mistake. And I'm probably going to. I'm going to fuck up, guys. I know I am. But I'm trying my best and I just wanted it noted. Contents of the book. We have our preface, introduction, and 6 chapters. Chapter 1, the history of sigils. Chapter 2, art and sigils. Chapter 3, sigils in the modern world. Chapter 4, how to make sigils. Chapter 5, magical alphabets. Chapter 6, charging your sigils. Then we have a wonderful conclusion to this book, a recommended and further reading list, glossary of commonly used symbols in magical practices, acknowledgements index, a little bit about our wonderful author, and then right at the back of the book, creating your own sigils. You have this lovely section where you can add your own sigil designs into the book. And check out that border, isn't that cool? I'll give you a close-up. There we go. But I really liked the border, and I am assuming that Leah designed that, but I'm not sure. Now here is our fabulous author and their cat. I don't know if there's more than one cat. This could be 3 cats, could be 1 cat, I'm not sure. However, Leah turned their cat into a cartoon character that follows you throughout this book, and there are loads of moments where the cat makes, you know, interesting comments, funny just funny little jokes throughout the book, and I just thought it was a whimsical, fun touch that I really enjoyed, and I just wanted to let you know that you are going to have a cat companion as you work your way through this book. Now let's take a look at the book itself and give you a flip through. So first of all, we have a discussion here on magic, spelt with a C, and then magic spelt with a CK. We have on gender in magic. This is where I found out that Leah is non-binary. They say, "Hi, it's me, your friendly neighbourhood non-binary witch. I'm not interested in practicing magic in binary ways or gendering everything. However, I am interested in historical accuracy, and gender has a place within that framework." Fantastic introduction to that. And then they go on to just discuss magic and the differences between masculine, feminine, and non-binary. And that was just a really nice touch, and I enjoyed that. Then we go into a discussion on demons and entities, ethics of magic, and then this was one of my favourite things that they chose to put in the book. "Do what thou wilt, do not harm, but take no shit." And I was like, yes, absolutely, take no shit. And I really liked that Leah had drawn these brooms around this to make a magical circle, and it just reminded me of practical magic. I don't know if Leah is a fan of practical magic, but it just gave me those vibes, and I just wanted to let you all know that that's what I thought when I saw that. Then we go into our introduction, where we do get some beautiful sigils and symbols by Leah. There we go, there's our kitty companion. Then we've got 99 things that can be looked at as sigils or absolutely are sigils, and I'll just give you an idea of what's on this list. We've got the Ankh, the Eye of Horus, we've got the Caduceus, the Jack-o'-lantern, hieroglyphs and magical languages, names, chaos sigils, tattoos, mandalas, Eye of Providence. What else do we have? Rose Cross. We've got spells and rituals, Ouroboros, Hand of Fatima. So there's some examples. Then chapter 1, history of sigils. We take a look at what a sigil is to understand where a sigil came from historically, what it is from then to now, and how it's kind of been adapted, transformed, changed. Beautiful historical introduction, by the way. Pentagram and pentacle topic. We've got the vase. We've got loha, or lower, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, so again, my apologies if I'm saying that wrong. We've got a discussion on Dr. John Dee. We've got yantras, magical squares, so we've got the Satyr square and the abracadabra triangle. Demonic and angelic seals, and a little bit about the Goetia. Latvian staves, and again, you can see some examples here. Icelandic magical staves, and they are different to the Latvian ones as well. We've got hand gestures and body language. And then we go into the art of sigils. So here we get some modern ways to kind of incorporate sigils, so drawing them on cups. We've got ancient symbols, geoglyphs. We've got historic influences upon sigil magic, and I'm so happy and proud of Leah for mentioning Austin Osman Spar, and I'll get to that in a bit, but oh, just brilliant. So often I read books or topics on sigils and Austin is not even mentioned, and it annoys me so much. And again, I'll explain that later, but that, brilliant, absolutely loved it. And then we've got some information about these influential people. Creating hyper sigils and what that is. Self-portraits as a sigil. And then we do have some spells in this book. So protection spell to fortify your authentic self online. Loved that. I actually performed that as well. Thought, why not? Give it a whirl. Sigils in the modern world, chapter 3. So we have a discussion about chaos magic and of course Carol. There is a lot of talk about Peter J. Carroll, his books, his kind of influence, and, you know, setting the tone for chaos magic, and then of course incorporating sigils into that and how that was adapted. So that was really good. Sigils and identity, and then we've got gender markers and symbols that are commonly used. So we've got the Mars male and Venus female, and then we have a transgender symbol here. Cattle brands and modern symbols, so, you know, McDonald's, Mickey Mouse ears. We've got memes and viral sigils. We've got a talk on pop culture. There's our cat companion again. We have another list, 99 reasons to make a sigil. Chapter 4, how to make sigils, the magic square method, the most commonly used method, and you will understand why when you read the book if you don't already know. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So here we see how you make a sigil using the various squares. That's broken down beautifully, by the way. Here we have the conversion chart and then our magic squares for the different planets. A full talk on Austin Osman Spar and his method. Then we've got the Golden Dawn and the Witch's alphabetical wheel. So this is how the Golden Dawn actually create their symbols, which is an adaptation from this here. And then this is like the modern version that is commonly used, and we call it the Witch's wheel. Then we've got some additional notes on sigil making, so some tips and tricks from the author themselves. We've got mantras and incantations and pictorial methods. We've got channeling spirits for sigil creation. Casting lots and casting sigils. I did actually really like that. That was really interesting and definitely new, not something I'd come across before. Gave that a whirl, loved it. Conjuring sigils through random patterns. So here we talk about automatic writing and drawing and just being whimsical and fun with your sigils instead of being rigid and doing it in a set way. Cultural appropriation, how that's really not a thing when you're designing sigils because they come from your own brain and what you interpret after you've broken down the, you know, the statement of intent or the word. So you cannot cultural appropriate when it comes to making sigils. It's a completely creative process. Secrecy and silence when it comes to your craft and practice. Second nature versus ease. Affirmative statements and magic making. So, you know, how to write really good petitions and, you know, power words and statements of intent. Magical alphabets, so you can use these to make bind ruins, hyper sigils, and you can incorporate them into your sigil making for seals and things like that. Charging your sigils, and we have 99 ways to charge or activate a sigil. Black, which is salt, and how to make it. Then we've got 99 places to put your sigil, giving you ideas on how to incorporate sigils into your daily life and practice. Should you make a sigil? So this is kind of about whether it's a good idea to make a sigil, because it is magic you are performing when you're making a sigil. So is it a good idea? It's kind of the same as should I cast a spell. So the recommended way to check is to use divination. I love that the cat was playing with tarot cards. My cat used to do that. She used to slide cards away from me and go, nope, you're not reading that one. Or she would like push some towards me. It was so funny. So yeah, if you have a cat, you totally understand this and why that's funny. But if you don't, I'm just explaining to you guys out there. Cats like to play with tarot cards for some reason. Using sigils to conjure entities. Again, that kind of falls a little bit into chaos magic, which is again discussed. But if you are interested in this, because this is just a very, very basic, small discussion on this. But if you are interested, there are books that go into this in greater detail. Candle magic and how to incorporate your sigils into that. We've got monitoring your flame and reading how your spell is going. Incorporating sigils into art and embroidery. Tarot spreads for sigil design. We've got correspondences. So here, this tells you correspondences for designing your sigils, and you know, it's like a mini list for if you're doing other types of spell work as well. So money, abundance, manifestation and success magic, and all the things related to that. One of the things I do want to note that I did like about this book, a lot of books these days can be overly too positive and they don't want to incorporate anything negative, which for me makes them unbalanced. This book is balanced. She gives you to curse and hex and a list for that, as well as to break curses and hexes. Balanced. Love it. Then we have a full list of correspondences in regards to the planets. So you can choose what hour to incorporate, the day's energy, the planetary influences, which helps if you're choosing your planetary square to make your sigil with. There's also a basic list of colour correspondences here as well, and then our days of the week, and then we go into our fabulous conclusion, which kind of just ends the book beautifully. Recommended reading list, and then our commonly used symbols and sigils. And there we go. So that is what the book is like on the inside. Now let's talk about the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between. Positives for me. I was very, very pleasantly surprised that Leah talked about Austin Osman Spar, giving him full 100% credit for creating the most commonly used method for creating sigils. He's like the father of sigil magic, basically. He created and developed magical techniques for automatic writing, drawing, as well as techniques for sigilization. So when we say the most commonly used method, usually that is you write your statement of intent, you break that down into a numerological value, I suppose you could say, and then you add it up, and then you use one of the magic squares to make your sigil using those numbers. That's the most commonly used method. It's the simplest, it's the oldest, it's the one that we know and love, and he made that. And so many books on sigil magic don't even bother to talk about him. They don't mention him, they don't credit him. It's frustrating. So major, major brownie points for this book for talking about him in great detail, not just a little mention. He's brought up at the beginning, then there's a bit about him, and then there's a whole section about, you know, how he created this and how you do it properly, his method. Fantastic. Most of the most commonly used methods for creating sigils are provided with details on how to use the techniques in this book, as well as some new techniques from Leah themselves. One I enjoyed was the idea of using lots. So, you know, bones, charms that you throw. That's what casting lots is. By concentrating on the sigil's purpose, so you know why you want to create the sigil, what it's going to be for, you hold the lots in your hand, you give them a shake, you really think about the purpose of the sigil, cast them, and then see a pattern that they form, and you create the sigil using that pattern. It was truly creative, inspirational, and something brand new, and it basically was like connect the dots. It was brilliant, really liked it, and I have since used that technique many times, and it's something I have added into my practice. So Leah taught me something new. Brilliant. The shoaling technique is discussed in great detail in this book, clearly explaining how to use multiple sigils to manifest one result. A very clever technique, one I have seen before, but I very rarely use myself. So I started playing around with the shoaling technique and using it a little bit more. And I have had fantastic results from that as well. So the shoaling technique basically is, rather than create one sigil, you create multiple sigils that will help you manifest the main goal. So, for example, if you want a new job, maybe you create a sigil to open your eyes to the possibilities out there. Maybe another one for road opening, so doors to opportunity are opened. Then you might create one that makes you look good as you're being interviewed. You might draw a sigil somewhere on your CV, so employers actually want to phone you and offer you an interview, you know? So there's multiple ways to work with that to get that main goal. So you are layering up, which is called shoaling in this book, to create that situation, get you towards your goal. So, you know, steps, and then manifesting what you want. Brilliant, powerful, effective, and does work. The next positive for me is Leah suggests looking up sigils and symbols connected to your heritage, allowing you to connect in new ways with your ancestors. I loved this, and it's not something I've ever thought about. I read that and I literally went, well, duh, why have I never done that before? So I have a lot of Scottish and French ancestry, as well as a few other bits and pieces thrown in there. Apparently I have pirates, I have Native American Indians, so it's very interesting looking at my ancestry, which is something I've been doing. If you've been watching my channel for a while, I've been reviewing a lot of ancestor books, so you know this to be true. And diving into my ancestry, I have quite a weird collection of ancestors, and yeah, looking at these sigils, symbols, things that are connected to my heritage, incorporating that was inspirational. I loved that idea, and that is something that I am in the middle of researching, so I can't tell you results from that yet. However, I did enjoy that. I thought that was a wonderful idea, so thank you for that, Leah. Plenty of interesting topics are discussed, such as sigils in art, digital sigils on your phone and screens, meditating with your sigils, and using ashes from burned sigils to add into spell work. All good advice for beginners, creative, fun, and inspirational. Leah is a captivating writer with a fun, whimsical approach to this subject, often joking with you, the reader, showing that Leah enjoyed creating this book and had fun with it. It's full of fun notes, lovely doodles, and a cartoon cat, as I've pointed out, that follows you as a companion through the book while you learn all about sigils, giving the book this just friendly, lovely feel to it. So those were all the positives that I just thoroughly enjoyed and that stood out to me the most about this book. And yeah, just overall, I did like Leah as a writer. I like their voice, their thoughts, and mostly for me, this book was positive. But of course, I have to be balanced, so let's talk about the negatives. I noted that often in this book, signs, sigils, symbols, seals, ciphers, and traps are lumped together under the title of sigil, kind of like an umbrella term. I'm not a fan of that, if I'm honest. That's because while sometimes they do and can overlap, they are still fundamentally very different, with clear, distinct ways to create and use them. It's important to make this clear to avoid confusion and misinformation. I didn't feel that this was clearly explained in the book. A breakdown of the differences between all of those things, so signs, symbols, seals, ciphers and traps, which, like I said, are all very different things, needed to be included in this book so everyone understands what the differences are, how they're created and what they're used for. And the various techniques of maybe using them as well could have been added. And it didn't have to be a massive section, could have been just a small side note on, yes, I'm using the term sigil as an umbrella term, but these are the different types you might encounter and what they're used for in the occult community. That would have made this book just a little bit better and would have been an amazing addition to the book as far as I'm concerned. But as it's not in there and it's not clearly explained, the differences, and they're lumped together, that for me was a bit of a negative. Where spells are given in this book, you are asked to make a sigil for the spell. In some cases, spells were given before you are even shown how to make a sigil, making the book feel a bit disorganised. As a beginner, this would have irritated the crap out of me due to the flipping back and forth, because you would have encountered a spell and gone, oh, I really want to do that, but then you have to go to the bit that teaches you how to make a sigil and then go back to do the spell. So that just kind of annoyed me. I think all spells should have been grouped together in their own chapter after you have been taught how to make a sigil first. So that was one thing that for me was a negative that I personally found irritating, that I can see a beginner being slightly annoyed with. I'm not a beginner. You know, I'm 40 years old, guys. I've been practicing since I was 7. I've got a lot of years of magical practice under my belt. I know how to make a sigil. I know how to craft a sigil. I know ridiculous amount of techniques for doing it, and I can do it off the top of my head without referring to anything. So it's not a problem for me, but a complete beginner reading this book who's never made a sigil before, doesn't know what a sigil is being taught it for the first time, I think that would be annoying. My least favourite chapter in this book was chapter 6, which was all about charging sigils. There are no step-by-step instructions provided on how to effectively and correctly charge your sigil. It is discussed, but not in enough detail, and isn't really taught, if I'm honest. It made the book feel incomplete. I noticed that charging and activation is discussed in the chapter and lumped together in that list of 99 ways to activate and charge, and really they should have been split up. I think splitting up the chapters should have been done as follows. So a chapter for sigil creation and crafting, then a chapter on charging, and then one on activation techniques, breaking it down in order so you know what to refer back to, making it easy. You are given a list of ideas, like I said, but it's a mix of activation and charging techniques, and you know the differences between the two are not outlined in that. You're just given this list and you're expected to just know what is an activation and what is a charging technique. I didn't like that. I think it would confuse a beginner, which is why I think they all should have been separated and given their own chapters. I did feel disappointed with this. I was looking forward to reading some really interesting charging techniques, activation techniques, something new and creative from the author themselves, and I just didn't get that. So for me, I think that chapter would be a struggle for a beginner, very confusing, and like I said, for me, it was just a tiny bit disappointing. Throughout the book, Leah discusses or mentions gender, privilege, patriarchy and various other world issues. While mentioning these or giving them their own chapter would have been completely fine, the constant mention of them for me was just a bit too much. At times it felt like we were getting off topic or that it was turning into a little bit of a rant. I didn't enjoy this aspect of the book, and I felt it wasn't needed for the topic of the book as well, because we're talking about sigils, we're not talking about world domination here. So sometimes it went a bit too far for me, and it brought the tone of the book down. It made it feel too serious in places, which is weird because the book has this very whimsical, friendly, fun feel, and then suddenly we get serious. So for me, it was that back and forth thing, and I didn't enjoy that. My conclusion on this book: very beginner friendly, a bit too basic for an advanced practitioner. Some very interesting ideas and concepts, new techniques which I found enjoyable. Excellent history lesson on sigils, easy to read and not overly too complicated. Like, I don't think anybody would struggle with the information in this book. I found it enjoyable when I was going through it, apart from, like I said, the sections that overly discussed gender, privilege and patriarchy. That just got too much for me. But I don't know if that would irritate anyone else. However, like I said, just too much for me there. And overall, I would say I enjoyed Leah's voice. I enjoyed their approach to sigil magic. There was just a few sections for me that could have been explained in greater detail. A bit more information added would have made the book absolutely fantastic. I've decided to score this book a 6 out of 10. I will be keeping it because I did enjoy it. However, I can't see me referring back to it too often, because there's nothing in it that now I know the new techniques she's provided that I would need to read again. But I do have quite a few friends and family members that want to read it, so I'm going to keep it for now. And because it's actually one of only 3 books I have in my collection that are on this topic alone, and there's not many out there, I've decided that it is a nice addition to my library and worth keeping. So that completes my review, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope this has given you an idea if this is the right book for you or not. And thank you so much for watching till the end and supporting me. If you did enjoy this, give me that thumbs up, click the bell, and YouTube will tell you when my next video comes out. If you'd like to offer light, love and support to me and my humble little channel, you can do that through my Amazon wishlist or through my PayPal link. And thank you so much for those who tip me or support me. I do appreciate it. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, ask any questions, you can either leave a comment on the video, I do check daily, or you can get in touch with me via Facebook, Instagram, X, Tumblr or email, and all the links are provided, guys. Thank you so much. Blessed be. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.